Hi friends and welcome. In this video I'm drawing a black cat without actually using a black paint. Lately I've been drawing some pet portraits for my Instagram followers and I thought it would be fun to record the process of this one. From warm-up sketches to the final details, I take you through the full journey, including how I mix my own black, what materials I used and a few tips along the way. But before I jump into the final piece, I like to warm up a bit in my sketchbook, and for this I'll be using just a colored pencil and a bit of ArtGraf. No pressure, just to get the shape and mood right. I'm drawing a cat portrait of one of my lovely followers, Rachel Hillis. She's also an amazing artist, so definitely go check out her Instagram. I will leave the link in the description. This is one of her cats, Moomin, and she's absolutely gorgeous. I started the sketch with a simple silhouette using ArtGraf. While that's drying, I like to explore the same shapes using different materials, so here I'm just doodling with a colored pencil. The goal at this stage is really just to have fun, experiment with textures, play around with the expressions and get a feel for their overall values. I try not to focus too much on details yet, just gradually building up the shape and seeing where it goes. Once the ArtGraf is dry, you can easily draw on top of it with a pencil and add a few more layers. For the last sketch, I decided to focus on the cat's head, just to explore the expression a bit more before moving on to the final piece. Okay, that's it for the warm-up. I really love how the last one turned out. Let's jump into the final piece. The materials I'm using today are colored pencils, Holbein acrylic gouache, and a bit of Neocolors by Caran. As for the paper, I use Fabriano Bristol 200 GSM. To keep the gouache from drying out too quickly, I'm using a Stay Wet palette. It's super easy to set up at home. You just need a few layers of damp paper towels with a piece of baking paper on top. Nothing fancy, but it really helps your paints stay workable longer, otherwise the paint will dry very fast. Okay, back to the cat. Unfortunately, I don't have a black color or Payne's grey, which I usually use instead of black, so I'll have to mix something like this from the colors I have. The original mixture for Payne's grey is Prussian blue, yellow ochre and crimson lake. So I'm mixing something like this using ultramarine blue, rose and a bit of sepia. One more tip to mix your own black or dark shade is by using the complementary colors, those that are opposite on the color wheel. So for example, you could use magenta with the deep green. I started with a very loose sketch by using colored pencil. It's not water-soluble because I just want to make sure it will stand to the paint. I like working with acrylic gouache like with watercolor in really thin layers. It gives you so much flexibility to build up different textures. Here I started slowly building up the background. My process might look a bit chaotic. I tend to jump back and forth between the background and the silhouette of the cat. But it actually helps me to define the shapes and values more gradually. Once the foundation is in place, it's much easier to move into the details. One of the great things about acrylic gouache is how well it handles layering. If something doesn't work out, no stress, you can just paint over it and keep going. It's also very forgiving when it comes to color mixing. Even if you start mixing a bunch of different colors together, things usually stay pretty clean and don't turn into muddy mess. Okay, I'll leave you here to enjoy the rest of the painting process, and I'll catch up with you again at the end of the video. Here I'm gradually switching to the details on the background using pencils. Acrylic gouache can dry to a surface that's too slick for some colored pencils to grip well. I've noticed this when the pencil just sort of slides around instead of layering nicely. A trick some artists use is to add a layer of ultramatte medium over the painted surface or mix it with the paint itself. It creates a superfine texture, sort of like micro sandpaper, that helps pencils stick better. I haven't tried it yet, but I definitely want to experiment with it on future pieces. Especially for the areas with tiny details where you want the pencil to sit well. By the way, if you have any tips, please share them in the comments. I'm not an expert in acrylic gouache, so I'd love to learn something new. So yeah, here is the final piece. I really love the cat expression and all those texture of the fur. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this or learned something new, feel free to like or leave a comment. And let me know, do you use black paint or do you mix your own? I'm curious.